I don't like the chest beating thing. If you are confident without data, you are delusional. Like you're a faker.
Yeah.
I think confidence, if you're wearing it, doesn't feel like confidence. It feels obvious. And so for me, the easiest thing to always have is just a big fucking stack of. If we were to zoom in, like, what does the word confidence mean? Like, let's look at statistics, right? People are like, what is our confidence in this statistic? And so they have evidence, they have data to support how confident they are in whatever the stat is, right? And so if we are confident in something, then it means that we believe we have a high probability of achieving whatever the prediction is, right? So like, how strong is the prediction we have? Well, how do you make predictions? You usually use a basis of data. And so if our past is the data set that we have, then we can be like, if I've worked out every day for 4 years, and then somebody comes up to me and is like, dude, you're just so like confident about working out, or it just seems like you're so certain. Like, how are you so motivated? All this stuff. It's like, I'm pretty confident I'm going to go to the gym because I have gone to the gym every day for 4 years. I think confidence, if you're wearing it, doesn't feel like confidence. It feels obvious.
Mm.
And I think that's the big difference. Because I remember that tweet got taken from multiple different instances and then glued together. So the outwork yourself out came from a small speaking event that Layla and I did. And someone said, how do you guys, because I just presented all the stuff on sales and building sales teams. And they were like, how are you so confident? Like, you seem so certain about this stuff. And I was like, and it was weird because I don't come from the personal development world. So this was like all new to me. And I was like, I don't know. This is just what it is. This is how you build and scale sales teams. I know this because I've done it. Like, this is it. I don't need to beat my chest and look in the mirror and be like, really, like, I'm going to crush this speech today. It was just because like I was talking about stuff I knew, and I knew it because I had done it. And so if someone isn't confident, it might be right for them to be unconfident. Now, the flip side is, and this is what I would add to answer that person, not tongue in cheek. If somebody actually did come to me, I would say, what would you require someone to have done for you to say it would be reasonable for them to talk about this subject? And if they listed out these stats, and then I said, okay, do you match that? Or do you exceed that? Now, if they said, I do kind of match that and exceed that, then I'm like, then just get out of your own way, man. Just talk about what you know. And if you feel like you don't know it, then don't say it. Mm-hmm. And on the flip side, if they're like, no, I don't match that, then I'm like, then get off the fucking stage. Go back in the trenches, go do the reps. And then when you come back, you will feel confident because you will have, quote, outworked yourself out, which is really giving yourself undeniable proof. Because like, I don't like the chest beating thing. If you are confident without data, you're delusional. Like, you're a faker.
Yeah.
I just think it's fake. You're either faking it or you're copy pasting someone else's experience. Because otherwise, where would you get the data from? Like, what you're saying, where would you get it from? You get it from somebody else that you heard, which means you're irrelevant. Like, they probably said it better because they did it. So just like stop and go do your own thing.
How was it for you at the beginning? So before, because I've seen all the stories of when you were poor, had nothing, meet your wife, right? So you're living with her parents, all this stuff. So there was a time that wasn't that long ago, actually, where you had none of this stuff, none of this fame and fortune. What were you like at the beginning of that?
Well, to give the full context there, I had 6 gyms when I met Layla.
Okay.
So I was reasonably successful. I then lost it all.
Okay. So you messed it up.
Key point.
Okay.
So I lost it all, but I still had the skills, which is why I'm a big proponent of having skills. And so I sold the gym successfully. And then I wanted to do this new model. The new model didn't work, or I had to have some tweaks on it. And so the evidence that I had, that like, did I have evidence that I knew how to generate leads? Yes. Did I have evidence I knew how to sell? Yes. Did I know evidence that like I knew that this promotion would work? Yes. Did I know that I tested in multiple markets? Yes. And so I was relatively confident, despite the fact that it was an insane risk, which, I mean, like, people see my stuff now, and believe me, it still took all that I had from a balls perspective to put $100,000 on a credit card when I had $1,000 in my bank account. But it was also because I was used to making $100,000 a month, and I was very confident that we would make it again. And so like, it was a risk, but I'm not a moron. You know what I mean? And so it makes a dramatic story, but at the same degree, like, the month before that, I'd done $100,000 in sales too. I just hadn't been able to collect on it because the processor didn't process the money. And so that's the thing. It's like, if I had put 100 grand on a credit card, having $1,000 in my bank account, having never done whatever this new business was, needing to make 100 grand in the first month of a brand new thing with no experience, that would be stupid. Mm-hmm. Like to such a large degree that like the likelihood of success would be really low. I had evidence that I had 6-figure months, many months before that, right? It was just that I had lost everything. And then I had gone all in on this next launch, crushed the launch, and then not gotten the money for it. And then because I was supposed to have had that extra 100 grand to float this next one, 6 guys had already quit their jobs to start. So I was confident enough to launch 6 gyms the next month, but I didn't have the money. So that was where the risk came from. But I would say that like a lot of the stuff that's happened, and I'm going to go on a little tangent here, but I think it'll maybe be useful. Most of the quote status and asking to speak on stuff has come always after the fact. So I got asked to speak about launching gyms after I'd already launched a bunch of gyms. I was always like really nervous to talk. But for the first time in my life, when I got up in front of it was like a 1,500 person audience. Like I was nervous in high school. And this is the first time I talked, it was 1,500 people. And I remember not being nervous at all. And I was like, why is that? And I was like, I'm just talking about what I did. I don't want to talk about hitting 1 billion until we're at 1 billion. I had someone comment being like, oh, you don't know how to hit 1 billion yet. I was like, well, I have a pretty decent idea of what I'm going to do. I was like, but I'm not going to say I know it until I've been there. I can talk about crossing 9 figures because I know, because I've been there. And so it's just like, I prefer to talk about it that way, mostly because maybe I'm just a big pansy and I can't front anything. And I feel so insecure about anything unless I have absolute proof that I can stand by it. Because I call it, like my closest friend, Dr. Kashi, we call it the podcast test, which is like, if someone drills down on this in a podcast, what are you going to say? And so for me, the easiest thing to always have is just a big fucking stack of proof. They're like, I don't think you're good at sales. I'm like, okay. Like, I don't know what good at sales means. Closed 4,000 of them. I was like, I don't know if that makes me good or bad. I've done a lot of it. And I'll say, this is what's worked for me. And if it helps you, awesome. If it doesn't, no worries. Because it's not going to change the data.
So for that person that hasn't done it, do you just have to act and do your way into gaining the confidence? So when in doubt, take action, start before you're ready, get going to get good, all of those types of things. Is that what you're thinking?
So I actually think you need to chunk down. So what it is like, you're not going to, so if you're like, I want to get started in sales, right? Yeah. Let's say that's the thing. Well, there are lots of things that are required to be successful in sales that you might have evidence that you'd be good at. Are you good at communicating? Can you show up on time? Are you good at doing repetitive tasks? How can you handle rejection? These are all things that you could test before you get into sales. Mm-hmm. And so you'd say, I think I'm going to be good at sales because I have this data. And so I think this is a good match for me as a career path. Now, if you're like, I hate rejection, I can't show up on time, I'm super like, I hate talking to people every day, and rejection crushes my soul, sales might not be the career for you. And so it's just like, what are the micro things that are like, again, if you were to make the perfect salesperson who had 0 experience, but you thought you could have a really high prediction that they would be good at sales, what would you make them do? I'd make them do all these things. Cool, then do that.